Hey, it's Bob. In today's episode of Real Retail TV, we're going to explore why you must take enough time off. So today I'm coming to you from my home, from our home. I am on the final day of a COVID quarantine, my second bout with COVID, but so I'm still staying away from everyone. So hence the sort of poor production value. One side of my face is bright, the other one's not. But I hope that you find this, my thoughts on taking time off, valuable. So this week I posted on Real Retail TV. I asked the question. I said, so how many days a year do you need to take off to avoid burnout? And clearly it was a hot button issue because there were dozens and dozens of replies. And as expected, a wide range of answers. Everything from I am so burned out, I can't take any time off, to I take as much time off as I want. And that's really why we're having this conversation here today. You see, so let's talk first of all to all of you who aren't taking enough time off. If you are taking enough time off, you already know this. You've learned this. You are experiencing the freedom that you deserve as an entrepreneur. But if you're not, if you're one of those people who said, I can't take time off. I can't afford to take time off. Cheryl said burnout is real and it is ugly. And Cheryl is right. How do I know that Cheryl is right? I know because I have been burned out. I know because, to use the metaphor that I used to use with myself, I used to be on the road all the time. And before that, I had a period of real burnout when I was in retail. But going back to our current life as Whiz Bang Retail Training, I was a booked speaker, which means I was on the road all the time. And the metaphor that I used, and the metaphor that may work for some of you, is my tank had less than a gallon of gas in it. It had just enough to get me to the next gas station. And I'd get to the next gas station and I only had the time to put $1 worth in. And that $1 worth would only get me to the next gas station. And it was what is called a vicious cycle of stagnation and burnout. Say that again. A vicious cycle of stagnation and burnout. If that feels real to you, I just really want to offer you a message of hope. Because if you don't take time off, you will become burned out. It's inevitable. You can't sustain going all the time. You must take care of yourself. As a million, God knows how many, 3 miles on Delta or something like that, I know about plane rides. And when you're on the plane, when they're doing the safety message at the beginning, they talk about, in the event of an emergency, the oxygen mask will come down. And they encourage you to recognize that you need to take care of yourself first. And that vicious cycle says, I can't take care of myself first. I have to take care of my store first. I have to take care of my employees first. But that vicious cycle is merely that. It's a vicious cycle. And it will lead to burnout. You must take care of yourself first. Think about this. If you're burned out, if you're burned out, you don't have the energy you need to lead your team the way that they deserve to be led. If you don't have the energy you need, you won't have the enthusiasm to do the marketing you know you need to do to build your business. If you don't have the energy you need, you can't bring it for your customers. And when you start thinking about that, culture, marketing, your customer experience that is started by you, when this is your number one competitive advantage as an independent retailer, if they're not getting that amazing experience, if they're not getting the energy that you bring, why should they shop with you? Why shouldn't they go online? Why shouldn't they go down the street? So that's why it's a vicious cycle. But what I'm encouraging you to recognize, it doesn't have to be that way. There is a virtuous cycle, and that virtuous cycle is about learning and growth. So how do you get out of the vicious cycle and get into the virtuous cycle? Or if you are already moving forward in a meaningful way, if you feel like you are in the virtuous cycle, but you want to accelerate it, there are two things you need to do. Number one, take enough time off. If you are tired, you can't do your best work. Take that oxygen mask, put it on yourself first. Make sure that you have the energy to bring it. Make sure that you have the enthusiasm, the creativity, all of the things that you had when you started your business. You need to take some time off. Now, if you've been part of this community for any amount of time, you know that what I'm going to say right now is shocking. And what I'm saying is you may need to close your store for a couple of days. You may need to do something fairly drastic in order to get to the place where you're excited about doing business again. So take some time off. But energy and enthusiasm aren't enough to make you successful. So when we talk about a virtuous cycle of learning and growth, let's talk about the next of those two words, learning and growth. You see, if you just bring enthusiasm, you're not going to get what you deserve. You're not going to get that business that gives you the freedom that you deserve. So it's also about skill set. It's about energy, but it's also about skill set. So you need to invest in your learning. Now, investing can be free. So on the 31st, Susan and I are going to do a program called They Haven't Canceled Christmas. And it's about all the things that you can do to really, really set yourself up for a super successful holiday season. It's absolutely free. But if you really want to set yourself up to build the kind of business that gives you the freedom that you deserve, those long holidays where you don't worry about your business, financial freedom, lifestyle freedom, then you need to go deeper. You need to invest. I'm talking specifically about the Retail Mastery System here because that is the foundational piece for you and your skill development, that whole idea of the virtuous cycle of learning and growth. You see, because when you learn and execute on the right information, good things start to happen. And I know you might go, oh, Bob's trying to sell me something again. And yes, I am encouraging you to invest, but this isn't about me. This is about you. This is about you getting into that virtuous cycle, or you accelerating your growth, or you moving yourself to a place where you have the kind of freedom and the kind of lifestyle, financial freedom that you deserve. So the Retail Mastery System, guess what? It won't break you. You can get into it for $197 a month, but it might make you. Let me say that again. It won't break you, but it might make you. So I want to share two quick stories here. One is actually from that thread, and it was from Marion. And Marion said, because we follow WizBank Trading and the philosophies, we've been fortunate enough to put staff structure in place with long-term employees that allow us a good deal of flexibility. As it is, I only really work 3 days a week at the most. Does that sound good to you? I'll share one more story. You may have heard it. I shared a lot and I have permission. But our friend Maureen, she's a member of the Platinum Mastermind Group. When she sort of came into our world, she was, in her words, a hot mess. But when she put herself into the virtuous cycle of learning and growth, when she started to apply what she learned, when she made the investment of time and money, all of a sudden she went from a hot mess. And now she and her family go to Italy for a month every year. She unplugs. She has built that kind of business. Marion has built that kind of business. And I'm sharing it with you because that kind of business is available to you. You can do this. Keep your energy in place. Keep your mindset right. Keep your beliefs right. Invest in yourself. Invest in your skills. And get yourself on that virtuous cycle of learning and growth. All right. Well, I hope that you found that one helpful. It's not for everyone, but I know that there's enough of you out there who, after COVID and after everything that's happening, are feeling this idea. You're feeling tired, you're feeling burned out. And I hope that this message gives you some things to do and some hope that you can do it. And I'm going to look at you and I'm going to look you right in the face and say, you can do it. That I believe in you, that you've got the chops, you've come this far. You can pull this thing over the finish line. You can create that kind of business that you deserve.